Welcome to a football show, Friday edition, first week of Titans training camp edition. My name is Braden Gall. That is Nick Suss of the Tennessean. Go pay for good journalism, the Tennessean.com, or Tennessean.com, I should say. I am back in Nashville, which is great. I missed apparently a lot of things in an extremely eventful first week of Titans training camp, which involved shoulder surgeries, PUP lists, retirements, signings, all kinds of stuff, offense versus defense, Jeffrey Simmons running fast, all kinds of things to get to on the show today. We're going to play a game of did this really happen or not in the first week of Titans training camp. We'll talk about Brian Callahan, some of the expectations around him as well. I know you're working on some stuff around that. And obviously brought to you all by Sinkers Beverages and Shotgun Willie's Barbecue. Reminder, August 9th, coming up on August 9th, Basement East. I believe it starts at 5 o'clock. Tickets are only $10. The 40th birthday party for Sinkers Beverages. Sign up for the in-crowd and come on out. There are going to be all kinds of cool giveaways, food, booze, beer, drinks, music, all the other good stuff. So come on out. We're going to have some giveaways. And Shotgun Willie's Barbecue, of course, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday, best brisket in the city. Good morning, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy you're back, and I'm happy that football is back. And I guess we get to talk about it for the next 6 months or so. We'll put the football in a football show here.
I am like media days is such a signal to those of us who've been on the college beat. I know you in the past, me currently. It's such a signal that things are like it like teases you because it's not quite here. Camp is not quite back yet, and and certainly with all the drama of all the media days right now, the Big Ten screaming about how they. You know, fans don't want all the biggest leagues taking all the bids while they're trying to take all the bids. It's just all the extra stuff that is kind of diluting college football a little bit. And then there's a break, right? Camp doesn't open for a couple of weeks, but football, NFL football is here, and it is. I cannot wait. I'm genuinely excited. I feel like it snuck up on me this year. I don't know how that happens, but I'm very excited about actual football. The Titans have reasons to be excited. The SEC is great. The college football playoff, it's going to be great. So I'm very, very excited about football. I'll ask you about the offense and the defense. And, oh, my gosh, interceptions. Are we concerned about Cam Ward? Question mark in year number 1. So I can see that that's the title of the episodes. So for right now, we'll talk about Traylon Burks. We'll talk about all this stuff. I got to give can I do a quick review of West Virginia?
Of course.
Can I, by God, Virginia, can I do a quick review? I'm not going to lie, guys. The new River Gorge, like I feel like the first rule of the new River Gorge is that you should not talk about the new River Gorge because it is that awesome. Like it is that good. We took the girls rafting on Wednesday. We did a bridge walk, which is like the largest bridge of its kind in America. And you're like 850 feet up in the air on a catwalk. My wife was terrified for my children. We did all kinds of cool outdoor stuff. It was great. It was beautiful. It is the nation's newest national park, and it is the second oldest river in the world. It is awesome. It is great, and it's not a terrible drive. It was like 6.5 hours. So back in Nashville, great to be back. I'm super excited, but that is beautiful country. And for somebody who grew up in Appalachia or went to college in Appalachia, I should say, it's like the Smokies on steroids. So I don't think there's any more conversation here, but like it is awesome.
You've got my trivia brain running circles. What's the oldest river in the world?
So there's tension.
Okay.
There's conflict around this. Most of the experts will tell you the Fink River in Australia is the oldest river in the world. There's conflicting reports that maybe the Nile is, and because as soon as I think of this, I'm like, the Mekong, the Nile, the Amazon.
Yeah, my first instinct was Nile, and then I thought Tigris and Euphrates maybe because they're right in the middle of everything. But
sure,
never would have gotten to Fink.
I didn't even know that was a river. Know that was a river. Maybe when I was in my like college days, when I was watching a lot of Crocodile Hunter, maybe I knew about the Fink River. But either way, like the fact that like it is when you're down like on the water like rafting, you look up and it is. Like it feels Grand Canyon-y, but it's covered in trees and it's different. Like it's granite, it's limestone. It's not sandstone that carves out real easy, obviously in Arizona, but it is spectacular. Like if you like being outside, if you like, kids like doing that stuff, I cannot recommend it enough. It was, my soul is full. I'm ready for arguing about interceptions at training camp. It's great. It's great. Can't recommend it higher. So there you go.
Cool. West Virginia.
Nope. All right. All right. QC says after yesterday's Woo Pig, what's more likely, a Burks catch in a regular season or an Allen pass in a regular season? I might go with Allen on that one.
I think I'm going to go with Allen. Yeah.
Which brings us to our first topic, because I think I hope everybody enjoyed Herndon and I projecting the 53, because I think by like Tuesday there were already like 3 names like that aren't going to play this year for the Titans that we'd already put on the roster. So our projections, good to see Herndon, glad to have him, but I think the projections went awry quickly. That's because I guess the first thing that happened was Will Levis is going to have shoulder surgery and is out for the season. I don't know if there's any more to the story other than maybe it explains why they brought in both Allen and Boyle. And we were always kind of wondering, is this a competition? I'm curious what the decision-making process was like for Levis's camp throughout the course of the offseason and summer. If they were thinking the whole time that this was a major possibility, I assume that they knew that. Or did something happen? Like, I don't know. But that was the one that caught my attention, obviously, at the beginning of the week.
I don't want to speak too far out of turn. You know how I can couch things, but I don't think this is a new injury. I don't think there are any indications that this is something dramatically changed on July 20th or thereabouts, and it forced Will's hand. I think this was always a possibility. This was always something that was in the exploration phase, and it came out in the direction of Will getting the surgery. Long-term for his career, this is almost certainly what is best for him, especially given that everybody in this chat and everybody listening to this kind of all understood this wasn't going to be a year that Will Levis was a starting quarterback. So if we all operate under that, we all understand that it's best for him. I'm not going to fault a guy for doing what's best for him. I do not necessarily consider it the wrong kind of selfish of like, but what about his love for the Tennessee Titans? Like, the Tennessee Titans went out and replaced him. Like, loyalty only goes so far. Yeah.
With 3 different names.
Yeah. Yeah. Loyalty only goes so far. I think that if you are somebody who believes that the future could still be a starting role for Will Levis somewhere, this makes sense.
So maybe this is where I need to ask, because I have not been in the Twitter sphere or the conversations or talk radio or whatever. Like, do people think this was a selfish thing for Will Levis to do?
There are a lot of conspiracies about a lot of directions about what happened here. I think that some people probably have a bit of a feeling that Will Levis left the Titans in the lurch here with the timing of, if he elected to get the surgery back in April, they could have gotten a stronger backup quarterback. If he had elected after the season, they could have handled free agency differently. Like, I think there is a conspiratorial bent of this was somehow a move to punish people. And then there are some people like Stevie in the comments who are just like, it's a dumb decision. So like there are.
Well, that's how I feel. It's like, you know, the pitcher gets the forearm tightness, right?
Yeah.
And he's got the forearm tightness, and he's going to go, like, you can just see that it's the exact same timeline that unfolds for every major league pitcher in history. They get the forearm tightness. They leave a start early. Then they're going to rest for 2 weeks, and then they're going to get an MRI, and then they're going to decide with their team what they're going to do, but they're probably going to decide to rest for a few more weeks and then give it another shot. And then they're going to give it another shot, and then that's going to result in more forearm tightness and another MRI, and then they have to have a consultation with Dr. James Andrews. Or is he the ACL guy? I can't remember.
He does both, but yes.
So then
Dr. Neil Elatrash.
There you go. And so then you do end up eventually almost always getting the Tommy John surgery. Almost always. And so, like, that's how this feels. And no one thinks that those pitchers, now there are conversations, I'm sure PK would say this, about like a Yankee pitcher. Like, why didn't you get the Tommy John at the beginning of the offseason instead of waiting until February to see if you could go? That story happens in baseball pretty often, where a guy thinks he's okay. He's going to let the offseason to heal it, to bring it back down, let the inflammation come down, and just see if it heals naturally, and then try to go in the spring. And then when spring training rolls around, shit, we got to do Tommy John. Like, I don't think it's more than that. I mean, it could have been a dumb decision by Will Levis, but it certainly wasn't like getting back at Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi. That feels very stupid.
And look, the short-sighted versus long-sighted of this, Stevie, to your question of, well, you can't be traded now. What if a quarterback gets hurt in camp? That sort of thing. If Will's goal is to, like, long-term be a starter in this league, and this surgery will address something that is
Right.
making him not as good as he could be, it makes sense for him to say, I'm going to get this surgery and I'm going to be better when I come back. I don't necessarily believe in the tear your shoulder open just to make it stronger thing. So if it's peak performance and he's just having the surgery because he doesn't want to play this year, yeah, that would stink.
Yeah.
But we all know that the injury happened last year. We all know that he was battling through something. So if there is something to repair, he might end up being better off because of it. And so that's the upshot for him.
Yeah, and I just think that the human body is extremely bizarre and weird and a case-by-case basis, and some people's shoulders with this particular injury, and again, I'm not a doctor, so maybe this particular injury always 100% of the time results in a surgery. I don't know, but he did come back and play a bunch.
Yeah.
So it's not like he wasn't capable, and then he had to sit out a little bit, and then he came back and played a little bit. And so I just think that we're not giving the uncertainty of the human body enough credit here, if that's a thing that we could say. I just think a player has a right to say to himself, I want to give this a shot. And if it doesn't work out, we can come back afterward and say, man, that was dumb. You probably should have done it earlier.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it. There's not some nefarious motive to all of this. And so I that's the first thing that caught my eye. And then I thought, well, are they going to add a fourth quarterback? I don't think so. I feel even more confident now that Brandon Allen is your backup quarterback. And to the original question, I believe he has a better chance of throwing a pass than Treylon Burks has of catching one. In particular this season, so we'll get to that. All right, what was next? Lloyd Cushenberry and L'Jarius Sneed put on PUP.
Not a surprise.
I think that's fairly predictable, right?
Yeah. And both of them being week to week, we will see how true that ends up being next week when we update on if they are coming back. But I think that's slightly encouraging if both of them can be on the practice field at some point during the preseason. Lloyd in particular, for somebody who the Achilles injury would have been early November, I want to say last year, late October, early November. So that it was the Patriots game, I want to say. So that's a fairly quick turnaround. That's a 9 or 10 month injury turnaround for a Achilles injury, which can often be a 12, 13 month recovery process. So I think that would be fairly encouraging if he's back out there in time to practice a little bit before week 1. With Sneed,
Eight games, by the way. He injured it in the New England game, as you said, on November 3rd.
Okay. So I would say with Sneed, I'll see him practice when I see him practice, and I will make judgments about how he looks when I can judge how he looks. I am done speculating about this man's health. When he plays, I will tell you how good he looks.
Right.
I don't know. I really don't know. I've seen him practice like 7 times.
We're not sure he's a human that exists on this earth. QC says, do you need to remind everyone PUP in camp isn't the same as PUP in the season? Yes, we probably should. That this is just a camp thing. And until there is a deadline where you have to designate someone for the regular season. And then I believe it's four weeks, right? Yeah. You have to be at least on PUP for 4 weeks. So there you go. It's not, I don't think Coach Wells, he says Suss is off the Sneed trade. Welcome, brother. I don't think there is a train.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Like there's not a train to be on or off of. He needs to be playing football for us to have a decision on whether or not we're on the train or not.
He is Schrodinger's quarterback at this point. Like, I do not know what is in the box because the box is not open.
What's in the box? In the box?
Once you lift the lid and I'm like, oh, that is a cornerback, I will talk about what he is.
Right.
But until then, I am keeping the possibility he could be an all-pro. I am keeping the possibility he never plays another snap.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We do not know. We will see it when we see it.
There you go. What's in the box? All right. I guess then the next thing that happened, I believe, was one of the players who might be penciled in as a starting edge rusher at the biggest position of need decided to retire.
Sure.
Lorenzo Carter retires. They go sign Jihad Ward, who I guess has a relationship with Reggie McKenzie from back in his days with the Raiders. And so a position that was already the thinnest and sort of biggest focus of most of our attention going into the season gets just this is where we can overvalue a Lorenzo Carter. Mm-hmm. 3.5 sacks a year. Fine. Nice piece. Maybe he's starting in 2-down player. Maybe he starts half the games more than that. I don't know. It's just another tiny death by 1,000 cuts at the edge position is what it is. And so maybe Ward, who's got the big frame, which we know the Titans want to have these big, giant, large, massive defensive ends. He's another guy who's like, what is he, like 6'5", 280, something like that. He's huge.
Guy, yeah.
So he was signed. And so I don't know if they take a step back with that signing or not. The position is still a major concern. Depth is an issue. And I think the most interesting, the two things, and this is where we can kind of get into what we've seen the last couple of days, actual football, which is that it feels like Femi Oladejo is moving quickly, which is a great development. Doesn't mean he's going to be great or a starter, but it seems that he's moving quickly through the process of becoming an NFL player. And that they do have some pieces to get creative if they want to, with Jeffrey Simmons being a little bit thinner, a little bit more agile, and maybe a little bit more motivated to play defense. And in third down situations, could you kick him out and have him have his hand in the dirt going against offensive tackles? I think being creative and having Femi develop, I think those are interesting elements to talk about. It doesn't change the fact that the depth chart is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, before I get to the big point, a small thing. I would kind of prefer the Jeff on the edge set to be on first downs than third downs.
Ooh, okay.
I would prefer, if you are on a down where you are more likely to see a run play, to have Jeff on the edge, and then you can have Sweat and James Lynch or Sebastian Jostay or whatever in the middle, so that Jeff can rush the passer as needed. But on a third down, I would rather have actual pass rushers on the outside.
No, I agree.
And interior guys. So if that is something that ends up happening, I would rather it be an early down set than a late down set. But the bigger point here, Lorenzo Carter has never been a productive NFL pass rusher. What the Titans are losing in his retirement has a lot more to do with depth, size, and run stopping ability than it does anything with the Titans pass rush profile. I think that there is a solid argument to be made that Jihad Ward is an upgrade as a pass rusher over what Lorenzo Carter was. Lorenzo Carter, I believe, was in the bottom 5 last year in pass rush win rate among qualified edge rushers. We've talked about this before. He is not a guy who is going to come in and be around the quarterback a lot. His value has always been other parts of the game, hyper athleticism, long arms, his ability to kind of set an edge, stretch an edge, which is something that's going to be missed. He's a solid player, a fine player. But if there are people here, who I'm sure there are a lot of people here, who believe the value of an edge defender is their ability to rush the passer, the Titans are not losing a significant piece with Lorenzo Carter's retirement. If the value of an edge rusher to you is the totality of the job, which is the way the Titans talk about the job, if it's the you have to stop the run to earn the right to rush the passer job, which we've heard so many times from different regimes, not just this one, this hurts. But if we're thinking just from a can the Titans get to the quarterback this year thing, not the end of the world to trade Lorenzo Carter for Jihad Ward.
Yeah. Keandre Coburn, also a guy that I thought had a good chance to make the roster, was waived. That's another element of the defensive front as well. So it does feel like you've got Jalen Harrell, Ali Gay, you've got Femi Oladejo, Arden Key, and Draymond Jones. You've got those 5 sort of, it feels maybe locked into spots, unless I'm missing. And then Ward probably above Gay in that position. So I don't know what that does to the actual projection of the depth chart. If they keep 5, if they're going to keep 6, does it? I don't know what that means, but it does feel like what it does is it opens up space for Femi Oladejo, should he develop quickly, to become a more impactful player quicker, which is fine. And that's good. It's a great development if he's ready for it. If he's not ready for it, it's still a good development because he's going to get reps. It just may cost you a few extra yards on third down, or a completion or 2 on third down, or whatever. So,
yeah. And I don't want to jump too far ahead in the game. I know we're going to talk about risers and fallers, but spoiler before we get to that, Femi Oladejo. He is on the up so far through 2 practices.
Well, let's start with so big instances off the field. Did I miss anything there? It feels like a pretty eventful first week just based on that stuff alone.
I'm trying to think.
I don't think so.
There were a couple of small roster moves made here and there, and obviously we can, if you have any interest in rehashing or kind of recapping the Brinker-Borgonzi press conference and then what Callahan has said, I think there are some nuggets about this team's goals and this team's preferred identity for 2025 which is less of a sugarcoat it kind of season than
that.
the last couple of years. So I would say go back and listen to the words directly, and then listen to the words that weren't said.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to hear what the team's opinions are about the team itself, which feels a little bit healthier maybe than it has in the past.
It is, and that's gonna start our conversation around expectations for Brian Callahan, which frankly I don't think we've talked a lot about expectations for Brian Callahan through the lens of Cam Ward, but we have not talked a lot about this offseason Callahan himself and what we need to see from him specifically. So I want to do a little bit of that today, kind of dip our toe into that world, because I think you're right. I think that Borgonzi and Brinker have taken a slant on this roster from the beginning in January or February, I guess, that they told us they told you at the combine, they used the rebuild word for the first time. So I think it's refreshing and healthy, I think. So we'll get to that coming up. All right, let's talk Cam Ward first and foremost. I want to know what he looked like to you. I know you documented every throw, Tennessean.com, if you want to go check that out. I think the numbers are what they are. I don't know if I should care about the numbers. It feels like strategically they are easing him into this process, and that strategically he's doing fine, that the defense was better on day 2 than it was in day 1, but that they're not really asking him to do a whole lot down the field. I just like your general analysis, since I hopefully I'm out there on Saturday, but I have not had a chance to see it. So I would love to know what you saw. How did he look? Does he look like he's made any progress? Is it possible to tell if he's made any progress? Does it give you any feels about how ready he's going to be for week 1 against a very difficult defense in a very hostile environment? Where are you at on what you've seen in 2 days with Cam Ward?
I have not seen a quarterback who looks better than he looked 2 months ago. Like I'm not seeing the holy cow, the springboard from OTAs and minicamp into training camp. He's still a guy who, I think I said this on the show then, I'll say it again now. He is a guy who looks like he is probably one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the world right now. I don't know how much higher than that. And you're drafting a guy not because of who they are now, but because of who they can be in the future. And so much of the magic of what Cam was able to do in college related to his ability to improvise and playoff structure and, make things happen when people are in his face. And that's limited in practice sessions. So you're kind of handcuffing him to play within a system and all of these things. We can make all of these caveats that we want. But fundamentally, if you ask me, how would I describe the play I've seen from Cam Ward through 2 practices? It was okay. Like
mid even?
Mid was his word. I think mid is a fine word. I also think just...
Is it a word?
It's an abbreviated word. Look, the thing that we all need to understand is that through the 2 years Callahan's been here, there have essentially been 3 types of practices this time of year. There have been standard time practices, red zone practices, and goal line practices. Red zone, third down, you know what I mean? It's essentially days when you're repping standard plays, days when you're repping plays that are going to go in 2-minute drills or third downs or kind of
situational
offenses, situational, and short field plays. These first 2 practices have both been standard time practices. And if we are judging pass plays that happen in standard time, it's a lot of slants, it's a lot of hitches, it's a lot of quick outs. It is not a lot of things that are going to show off the brilliance of his arm talent or his ability to fit things into tight windows. You couple in the fact that nobody has pads on, so the blocking in front of him is kind of just a matter of who's fast. So there are some plays where edge rushers are in his face, and there is nothing he can do about that. I think that if anyone is saying, oh my goodness, he's not excited, therefore he's not good, that is not what's happening here.
That's the thing we projected. That's the thing we said was going to happen the first day of practice.
Yeah, these are the 2 kinds of practices, or the 2 days of practices that are kind of specifically designed for the dramatics to not be there. So if I seem a little bit down on the performances, it is not because they were bad. It's because the framework within which they occurred were not exciting frameworks.
Coach Will says, sounds like these 2 practices were foundational practices. I would use it another way and call them 101. It feels like freshman level classes of practices, and that we're going to get to the 300 levels pretty fast at some point in the very near future.
News coming in while we're doing this. Colton Dowell has been waived, and the Titans have signed receiver Matt Landers.
Okay. Well, there you go. We're going to talk about the depth chart at wide receiver not really clearing up at all. But I guess I suppose that doesn't really add much clarity. If you thought Colton Dowell was in the mix with all these other guys, Restrepo, Oliver, Burks, Prochet, you name it, then I suppose that's not the case anymore. Very athletic player. Unfortunately, the knee injury, good special teamer too.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
I would have had him based off of practices that I'd seen. He would have been probably the last receiver on the depth chart, which makes sense if you're shuffling. I would say one thing that I am fairly confident on. You should expect a lot of roster shuffling, maybe a transaction a day for the first 2-3 weeks of camp. I think the Titans are going to spend a lot of time shuffling the bottom of the roster, looking for pieces. And if that is if that's unfortunate for Colton, we all like Colton. We all like the local angle. He was always a nice guy in the locker room.
Right.
But if they're shuffling the bottom of the roster, I am not surprised that he is a guy who was a victim of the shuffle.
Let's start on the offense then, and I want you to tell me who's playing in elevated roles. That's the phrase. That's the phrase we are sort of required by law to use when discussing what we see on the Titans. I suppose with the practices being open though, on the first one, I suppose it changes things a little bit. You can kind of say whatever you need to, but at the end of the day, I'm curious because Alec Iomanner has been my guy all along. He was the guy in our mock draft I projected the Titans taking. He's the guy I've liked. And it seems like he's sort of elevating himself quickly. What'd you see on offense? It seems like, you got Zeitler back in the lineup. What'd you see on offense from players who are playing in elevated roles, as you say?
Yeah, I would say there are no surprises with the ones and the top of the rotation of this team. I think that anyone who has not been at practice but has followed the Titans this offseason can probably make the list of the 15 or 16 guys that they are seeing play the most elevated, the highest ranking roles on this team. There are probably about 4 or 5 receivers who are in the bunch who you guys can probably guess about. There are 2 or 3, maybe 4 tight ends in the bunch. They still like their tight ends. And then the offensive line is what we've said it was since March 18th or whatever. Like since Dan Moore has signed and since he has been confirmed as the left tackle, we've known what the starting 5 is. I'm still very interested. There is a lot of movement on that second team offensive line. Not just movement of players cycling in and out, but movement of players playing different sides of the ball and different positions. I think we are going to be very, very fascinated watching this 3rd, 4th tackle competition. Again, like we said last week, don't get bogged down in this is important of it all, but it is fascinating that I still, after 2 days of practice, have no clarity on that. I think that guys are trying left tackle, guys are trying right tackle. Some guys who play tackle are also trying guard. That's going to be a little bit there. And then one player who I would say has had a bigger role than I expected, and one player who has had a smaller role than I'd expected through the first couple of days of practice. Bigger role than I expected for James Prochet, smaller role than I expected for Xavier Restrepo. Yep. Compared to how the two of them were used in OTAs, there has been a bit of a flip-flop.
Prochet, though, was good in the summer workout period, so I don't think that was QC says, and this is sort of to your point about important versus interesting, which is how does Latham look now that he's slimmed down and changed positions? So you would think more athletic, more agile, more comfortable, more prepared, more experienced, and in a position that he's played more recently. So I would hope all of that results in something that equals productivity. Impossible to tell without Pats, I imagine.
Yeah, this is like me teetering close to just doing a Tim the Toolman Taylor voice and saying more power. But like until we see these guys hit, it's impossible to say.
Yeah. Iomanner, the best looking rookie?
At that position or just period?
At that position.
I would say he has been very good in 7s and has been less productive in 11s.
Okay. Let's see here. Tight ends, you mentioned, I know you had in your projection on the roster 53, I think you had Odukoya and David Martin Robinson, I think. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I've been debating that going into camp, which one they like more. Are they both ahead of Josh Wiley? I know you thought they probably were. It depends. I know Coach Will says maybe Wiley's the odd man out. I don't think they're keeping 5, though, right?
I'd be surprised if they kept 5.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that's really interesting to me, and I've talked about this before, is how last year's experience with prioritizing offensive and defensive specialists at the bottom of the roster rather than special teamers who can sub in at the bottom of the roster. I'm curious how that experience is going to flavor roster construction for the rest of the season. Because, look, Odukoya has a role to fill. He is the only blocking first tight end on this team. Because of that, unless they go get another one, he is a guy who I am going to continue penciling in on this roster because I just think that is a role that no one else can fill.
I feel the same way. Odukoya, Helm, and Chig gives you 3 different skill sets.
Yeah.
So
then with David Martin Robinson and with Josh Wiley, the question is, does having an extra player who can play tight end have immediate value over keeping a linebacker, a running back, or a defensive back who feels like more of a special teams versatility option?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer because I haven't seen the way John Fossil's special teams practices work kind of fascinates me. I have not seen a ball kicked yet. Through 2 days of practice, they have not kicked field goals. They have not done punts. They are not fielding punts. All of the special teams periods have been about gunners and getting off blocks and like the fundamentals of the other 9 players on the field who aren't the kicker and the returner. Given that, maybe we can read into it that there's going to be an increased importance on that, or maybe there's a way you can read into it that says they are cross-training more people to learn more skills.
They're trying to coach them up.
So there is no conclusion to be made from this other than if the Titans are prioritizing special teamers at the bottom of the roster over utility players at the bottom of the roster, the tight end room might end up being thinner. If that is not the case, the tight end room could be robust.
Robust. What a good word. Joshua says, boys not practicing today? ? No, we'll at least not open. And we'll be available to see them. I believe they practice at Nissan Stadium at 11 a.m. on Saturday. So we'll have a look at that. The defense, Sinkers Beverages, by the way, Shotgun Boys Barbecue. Make sure you go support 2 good, great local businesses. Tickets are available, basementeast.com, for the 40th anniversary birthday party of Sinkers Beverages at Basement East coming up on August 9th. $10 ticket. All the money goes to charity. It's going to be a big party. Lots of cool stuff. Good music, food, booze. Come on out. Love to see all you guys. It would be a great way to get together and spend some a football show time together. The defense feels like it's got so many more storylines. I wanted to get to the offense because it's all about Cam Ward, and the defense felt like it kind of quote unquote won the day in day 2. I don't even know what that means without pads, but the fact that there's not a position group or a player, honestly, that doesn't have a storyline right now. Maybe Amani Hooker. I don't. But even then, I'm trying to think of who doesn't have Jarvis Brownlee. Interesting storyline because the relationship with L'Jarius Sneed. You've got to. Does he step into a bigger role? Looks like he had a couple of good days of practice. The linebacking core. Cody Barton has already gotten some people in the comments excited. People, Cody Barton highlights the defense from a personality standpoint, leadership, vocal presence, all this other stuff. And then he goes and has a couple of interceptions in minicamp, and now a couple of, he intercepts Cam Ward for the first time in training camp. It doesn't mean anything, but whatever. Seems like he's reading Cam Ward well, which I think I would love to know if Cody Barton thinks that's a thing that Cam Ward needs to work on. Winston playing is I think that's a really huge development for the safety group, every position group. The linebacking rotation behind Barton, the edge rushers have already had somebody retire. Like there's not a position group on the defense that doesn't have an interesting storyline. Who is elevated into a different role or maybe a higher role than you expected, and then vice versa?
I will say, if you're looking for the one player who is storylineless right now, good old Sebastian Joseph Day.
Yeah, there you go.
He's chugging along. He's going to play a lot. He's very good.
Same guy.
Keep chugging. I'm going to start with corners because I think that is the position that we are most in the dark about, but also most fascinated by with the Snead situation. We have a comment from QC Hawk about which rookie Harris cornerback makes the team. I will tell you, and I'm sorry that this may disappoint you, Mr. Hawk. The roles have flipped a little bit. Marcus Harris has been playing very well and has played a little bit of an elevated role when compared to what we saw in OTAs. And Jamari Harris has fallen down the depth chart a little bit. He made a really good play yesterday. So like, I'm not saying that he's a no shot situation,
right?
But Marcus Harris, I talked to him a little bit yesterday. He talked about kind of catching up to the speed of practice and the adjustment that happens after that first couple of months and then getting in the playbook over the summer and being able to adjust. And he is a guy who, if Snead's out, we're going to talk about a couple of options of who's this team's number 2 outside cornerback. And I think Darrell Baker is the front runner. Yeah. And he was injured for OTAs. Right. So like him being out there, encouraging sign.
Yeah.
But he's probably the front runner. Marcus Harris and Gabe Jeudy-Lally are the next candidates I would give. And then you have Jamari Harris and Jalen Kimber and some of these other guys who, Amani Owarie, there are some other guys who are a little bit down the rotation or down the expectation here. I would say that Marcus Harris has been one of the encouraging signs. He is not popping the way that Brownlee popped at this time last year, but we might just have to concede Brownlee might be a really good training camp player. He just he was super good last year in training camp, and he has through 2 days maybe been the best player on the field. Glorified shells, they're only in helmets, the hitting, all that stuff, and there's no referees throwing pass interference, and we're going to have to see how much better he gets in that regard. But through 2 days, he has been very, very good.
Against Patriots practice squad player Treylon Burks, he's been very good. So.
He has a lot of the time been the cornerback on either Van Jefferson or Bryce Oliver or Elikiah Manor. Like I haven't seen him too much on Ridley, but other than that, he has. It's the weird thing where people don't throw at Darrell Baker. Like, are you familiar with this phenomenon? Like, look at the stats last year. Whenever he was on the field, he had among the league's best rates on not getting thrown at.
Is some of that maybe perhaps that there wasn't another corner on the other side who wasn't a rookie?
I don't know the answer.
They did. People threw at Jarvis Brownlee a lot. They were testing him all season last year, I feel like. No?
And that's my point, is that even still in practices, people are throwing at Jarvis Brownlee and not at Darrell Baker.
That's true.
So I am seeing a lot of Brownlee coverage. The cornerback room, fascinating. I would say Marcus Harris on the upswing, Gabe Jeudy-Lally, a guy who is still in the conversation to potentially make this team like he did last year. After that, what position group?
Hang on. They got a lot of good questions here, so it's a good one to to take a pause. Coach says, as long as we let Roger stay inside and continue to master that, I'm good. Jordan, this is the most important question of the show. If forced, could you do 40 up downs? Could any media member? And the answer is yes. I do burpees and up downs as part of my HIIT training 3 times a week. So I could do it. I hate them with all of my being, but I could do it. Nick, could you do 40?
Let's see how much faith you have in my shape. So the Tennessean office is on the 16th story of a building. I took the stairs yesterday. How many stories do you think I got until I started to feel like I was dying?
Did you do all 16 though eventually? Did you power through?
I powered through. But at what point did I start to feel like this is the greatest mistake I've ever made in my life?
I would say story 6.
Oh, I made it to 11. I did better than you thought.
My first guess was 11, then I thought, no, I need to make it better for content. So.
Yeah. So what is the transmutative property between 11 flights of stairs and 40 up
downs are terrible. Up downs are the worst, man.
I don't know the answer to that, but I would guess that when I played high school football, I was the kid that went out of his way to be the loudest during up downs to impress the coaches with how much I was unbothered by it. So I would count them off at a very high volume. So I don't know if I would be good at up downs, but my pride is such that If we ever have a spare moment on the show, I'll tell you guys my pickup basketball story. When I am forced to be competitive, I am
I'm the same way.
I am a little bit of a jerkwad.
I'm the same way.
There is somebody in the room with me nodding hysterically right now.
My wife, not in the room, but nodding somewhere in the world.
Because like I hate competitive stuff. It's weird given my job. I really do not like being competitive. It is something that I do not like the feeling of.
Why did you pick the most competitive industry in the history of the world to work in?
I don't know, man, because I'm just I care about like competitive with myself. I don't care about other people
fair.
In that way. And so it's like
you get mad at your teammates for being competitive.
That is true. That is true. I'm getting a chime in.
Is this a bar trivia competition kind of question?
Is this related to trivia they want to know, or is this related to just like playing Uno and stuff?
Both. Everything.
It's everything. I
do
do not
like Risk. Risk is a bad game to play with you then.
I do not like when people treat things very important that aren't very important. I'll tell the basketball story very, very fast. Whenever I meet somebody who is way too competitive at pickup basketball, I clap in their face and just keep saying, "Aren't we having fun? This is such a fun time. It's great that this doesn't matter. It's great that we're just all friends having fun." And I did that to one guy. I did that to one guy so relentlessly one time that on 1919, he was at the point I was guarding him, and he threw his shoulder up into my knee and broke my nose. Or up into my nose and broke my nose. And I got up and clapped at him. I said, "Clean play. Love it. Good job. Love that we're doing this. Love that this doesn't matter."
Your commitment to the bit is astonishing.
And my teammates had to drag me off the floor and be like, "He is going to beat you. Like, leave right now." So that is how I react to people who don't match the moment. So if I had to do up downs, I would just be making fun of the fact that I was doing up downs. I would just be relentlessly like, "This is so great. I am so happy we're doing this. This is definitely not a waste of all of our times."
Have you been to, like, what's the therapist say about why you did that to the guy in the pickup basketball game? Like, what's the professional analysis of that psychological decision making process for you?
When we do a therapy show instead of a football show, I will give you that answer. But
you are the most competitive person in the world at not being competitive.
Correct. I love showing people how not competitive I am. And it doesn't matter if these are friends, family, or strangers.
I will out not competitive you.
I have been accused of cheating at trivia before because I tend to get things. And every time I am accused of it, I go out of my way to answer questions before the DJ has finished reading them off, so I can prove that I didn't look it up. And I will like have my phone out facing people as I'm walking by, like, "Ooh, didn't look this one up." Like I have problems when it comes to people projecting their competitiveness onto me. That's a good way to put it, Eddie. Competitively mocking other competitiveness.
Right, which makes you look more competitive.
Right. No, the trolling someone in a basketball game with a bloody nose, that's ultra competitive.
Yeah. But in the spirit of we should never have to be competitive.
No, I get it. Vrabel hates him way too much for that. That was the joke, Eddie, about Traylon Burks, of course. Ridley, is he a top 15 receiver this year in the league? I think he's top 20. Last year, the year before, I think he's a top 20 receiver. You can do 40 at up down. I could do a 40. Braden makes all of his hosts do 40 up downs before they turn on the Zoom. No, I'd like them to all be able to talk.
That's why my hair looks like this today. I did a lot of up downs.
Myself included. Let's see here. You do a brand of journalism that literally no one else can compete with, so you've already won. There you go. That's a high compliment there, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan. I like that.
Yeah, you should take that one. I can't even get through. No, Sus is a troll. Sus is fighting middle-aged men on weekends. That's pretty good there. Okay. Cody Barton, the development behind Cody Barton would be one I'd like to talk about. The rotation along the edge rusher, which we could talk about Femi if you want to, in terms of how good he's been. And then I think Winston playing and practicing is a really positive development. I know I'm not saying that wasn't expected, but like I just saw that and I heard that and I was like, that's really good. And he's making a couple plays on day two. That's good stuff right there because I really like that player.
Yeah, the Femi that I am seeing is a step forward from the Femi that I saw in OTAs and minicamp. And I'm trying not to get swept up in the moment of padless practice because it's so easy. I was talking about this with PK the other day, and I will be self-critical here. It is so easy for my judgments of people to be like, "Look how muscular he is." And just like that's my entire. It's like, oh, muscular guy must be good at football.
You want me to play PK real fast?
Yeah.
What, Nick? You never been on a football field before?
Yeah, this is what we were talking about. This is exactly what we were talking about. I was like, I feel so lame that I look at Van Jefferson and I'm like, probably pretty good, very muscular,
ripped,
dude's jacked,
shredded.
But it's more the way that Femi is.
Sources: NFL players, muscular,
shredded. It's the way that he is being deployed that I find fascinating. I do not think that it is a violation to report that Femi has been in coverage during 7-on-7 drills, because I can tell you that he has made plays in 7-on-7 drills, which is allowed. And that is slightly uncommon for an edge rusher. It's not totally uncommon. If you're playing a base defense, your seventh player is going to be a player in the box. So
they did it with Harrell last year, I think, in OTAs as well.
So like not a total like shocker, but the fact that he's a former inside linebacker who has this skill for playing in space, but also has the downhill ability to play as an edge rusher. And I've seen him make plays in coverage, and I've seen him make plays as a rush. I am encouraged. And couple that with Winston, who is just so instinctive. Yeah. Like the play he made, I guess it was Thursday, where he stole a ball from Josh Wiley. Based on my memory, Winston was like 3 yards off the ball when Wiley made contact with the ball. And just the downhill ability to get underneath the guy and rip the ball out of his hands while all of that was happening.
Yeah.
I am impressed by that. I still think it's going to be 4 or 5 weeks into the season before you see like a significant shot at this guy coming for Amani's job or Xavier Woods' job, because those are really good safeties. Like let's not disregard the fact that those are two NFL pros who should be starting on most teams. But Kevin Winston's good.
Let's be very clear also, and I want to make sure this is clear. Because of the questions around the depth behind Cody Barton, and because of the questions around L'Jarius Sneed's availability, the fact that they could have a third safety who is a rookie who looks very good, and to create flexible lineup opportunities for Denard Wilson is going to be interesting and fun and maybe a positive development. Now, what I'm fascinated about with Femi, and this is just specifically to him in general, is there's a lot of I remember sometimes you hear the story about a player getting moved because he's just not good enough to do the one thing. And sometimes you find out about a player getting drafted who is just kind of good at all the things, but like this is where his upside really lies in the NFL. And certainly there was a linebacker at UCLA that sort of forced him out of his position.
Sure.
But it doesn't. And one of the lines, I can't remember if he said this or if somebody else said this. Maybe it was, I can't remember who said this, but I read it somewhere about Femi being able to see the game like a middle linebacker, diagnostically, seeing the game like a middle linebacker, but using that diagnostic and anticipatory skills as an edge player is unusual. And I would love to know deeper and more about what is the specific advantage? Does Femi pick up on a motion on the other side of the formation that normally an edge rusher doesn't pick up on or doesn't care about, doesn't need to key on? All of a sudden, he's keying on something that's happening away from his responsibility that allows him to better do his job. And that is a really interesting element to this, if in fact that is what's happening. So again, very early here, let's not go crazy. But if and this is, I think, the big picture. If at the end of next week and we sit down to do a show and we are talking about Femi Oladejo, Winston, Jarvis Brownlee, J.C. Latham, Alec Ayumanner, Cam Ward, that has to be the core. Those are the first, second, and third round picks of the last. I guess Brownlee's a fifth round, but like those are the picks that Tavondre Sweat. If we are talking about the last two draft classes plus Skoronski being the pieces that constantly come up in conversation, that is a really good big picture development for the organization long term.
Correct. There is a lot more to talk about roster stuff, but I know both of us want to get to Callahan. So if there is anything that we did not talk about, come back to us next week. Come back to PK on Monday. Talk more about Jeff. Talk more about the linebacker rotation. There's more to say, but I think we hit on the most important stuff. Hopefully.
Yeah, and we touched on Cam earlier, so if you got to us late, we touched on a little bit of Cam. Not a lot of concern there, not a lot to know. The headline is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, just for the record. And then, obviously, Jeff Simmons potentially moving around. We kind of had some thoughts on first down versus third down, so check that out as well. Do I think Jeffrey Simmons should play more offense and goal line packages? Yes, I do. I just think that would be fun. DeFondre Sweat would be fun as well in the backfield with Sweat and Simmons. That would be hilarious to watch as well. So I quickly here, because I want to your broad perspective and takeaway from the press conference from Borgonzi, Brinker, and then tie in Callahan and sort of what is different. Because my question to you about Callahan I want it to be to start this conversation because we've got all training camp to analyze this. But that is sort of what is different. What is new? How have they changed their approaches? What are the things that they've learned? And what does that mean for the big picture culture and sort of identity writ large? And it feels like you had some observations about that right away this week.
I did. And I'll get to a bigger thing at the end of this. This is not the plug. This is a secondary plug. But I am writing something later today about this. Something that really stood out to me from what Brinker said and that Callahan kind of brought up in a way as well is one of the things that the Titans are saying this year is you are what you emphasize. That is the, I guess, Rene Descartes interpretation of football at this point of you are what you emphasize. And I've been trying to get to the core of, well, what are the Titans emphasizing? And you ask different players, you get different answers. I talked to some veterans about it, and they talk about really nitty-gritty schematic stuff. I talked to some veterans about it, and the most common thing that comes up is the word connection, is they are emphasizing a form of connection that hadn't been emphasized in this way before. And you can hear it with Cam Ward talking about, I only talk to teammates and 5 other people. You can hear it when you hear about people talking about the off-season team groups and all that stuff that we've totally overcovered. There's a lot of stuff, but I think that if the Titans want to operate in a you are what you emphasize philosophy, this togetherness, this connectivity is going to be the defining thing that either makes or breaks Callahan this year. I don't know the value of connection because I am not connected to teammates in a locker room. Like,
as we've learned, you don't like competition.
Yeah. So I would assume that there is value to this. I would assume that there is some sort of importance to togetherness and all of these things that they're emphasizing. And none of this is downplaying the fact that Callahan and his regime and Brinker and Borgonzi and their regime are also emphasizing things like don't jump off sides and don't commit dumb penalties and don't drop the ball and like all of the stuff that, you know, matters to helping win games. Don't beat yourself. That is the other emphasis. But if we're talking about, could this be a team that has Callahan on the hot seat by week 6? Like, if that is what we're trying to get at here, the answer to what's going to prevent that from happening lies much more in connection and emphasis on not beating yourself than it does in the top level talent of this team.
I think this sounds crazy because fans aren't going to like this, but I'm not sure how much the results matter. They do, and always, eventually, they do. But how you get to those results, I think, especially in the first half of the season, if it to Coach Will's point about how terrible they were as a second half team last year, no adjustments, very prepared for the games last year, but terrible in the second half. I think if they're not making small mistakes, if they're not making dumb mistakes, if they're making the good mistakes, the effort mistakes, or I was just a little off on this, I made the right decision, but I just didn't execute it well because I'm a rookie quarterback, for example. That's where I've been on this, and it's probably why it's not been top of mind all summer, which is trying to set some number, which is what we do in college football all the time. It's like, oh, how many wins does Mark Stoops need to keep his job? Like, that's what we do in the summer around these conversations. And I don't feel the need to do that with Callahan at all. They could be a significantly better team and win 4 games. They could be equally as bad and win 6 games. And so I don't know if how important the actual number is versus how you got to that number.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that does for Callahan. And because look, if you're going to be brutally honest as a front office about where this organization is, which I do think is refreshing, healthy, and smart, and frankly, the right thing, like it's just honest. I don't know how then you throw the coach under the bus.
Yeah. Which I think is a segue into what I kind of wanted to end this show on. Braden, I don't know if knows what I'm about to say. I have put together a Titan fan state of the franchise survey. It is 15 questions, 10 multiple choice, and 5 true or false. And I tried to comment it in the comments right here, but it has been blocked by 440 Sports as spam.
So I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Text it to me real fast, and I'll post it for you.
So there is a survey here that I have been collecting answers. I think I've gotten about 200 responses so far on this survey. I think that you guys would be intrigued by it. They are pretty simple, direct questions. We're talking, how do you feel about Brian Callahan? How do you feel about Mike Borgonzi? How do you feel about the ownership group? How do you feel about the new stadium? Those sort of things. And then toward the end, we get to more kind of big picture stuff. What does it mean to you to be a Tennessee Titans fan? Would you recommend other people be Tennessee Titans fans? Do you like being a Tennessee Titans fan? Does it make you feel good? I am going to text the link to Braden right now so he can do it. But I am trying to put together a state of the fan base symposium here where I'm going to collect this data. And at some point, either next week or the week after that, I am going to start organizing Zoom meetups with Titans fans. And try to talk to people directly about how you feel the franchise is directionally. If you are at all interested in participating in these surveys, please take them. You can click the link that Braden just posted to Facebook and to YouTube. You can also email me directly, nsus@gannett.com. You can find that at the bottom of any story I write if I talked too fast. Email me and tell me if you are interested in participating in any of these symposiums. If we have enough local people, we can try and organize one in person to do like a local Nashville thing.
Perhaps it's Shotgun Willie's Barbecue.
And if Braden, if you would like to help organize this, I would
risk it for everyone.
Definitely appreciate the
I would love to. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I would love to get as many Titans fans talking about what exactly it is you feel right now, because we've spent a lot of time, and this is going to be the thesis of something I write, that this is all being valued to something that'll come out in late August, early September. We've spent an inordinate amount of time talking about things that happened 3 years ago. We spend a lot of time talking about the AJ trade, about John Robinson getting fired, about Vrabel getting fired, about the Carthon era. I do not think we spend enough time thinking, well, what are the Titans doing? What is about to happen? How do I feel about this current direction? And I would like to remedy that. I would like to talk about, how do you feel about this new stadium? How do you feel about buying season tickets for this team in this era? I would love to talk about what being a Titans fan moving forward means, not to ignore the past, but to reframe what the past means for what's about to happen.
My first instinct, and I don't know why this is my first instinct, maybe it's because we're going to make everybody do up downs when they show up at Shotgun Willie's Barbecue and make sure that you guys aren't too competitive with your feelings. I think we are not focused enough on the present. I think the future is almost impossible to focus on, because meaning it's impossible to know what something means if you're just, and I think this happens in content, sports content in general. Like, most of you listening, most of you fans don't care anymore about projections. They don't, like they do for season-long stuff. I think most of you do. Some of you might, but like for gambling purposes, you care about what we think about the Jets-Steelers game or whatever. But like nobody really cares. I don't think previewing games, for example, those numbers are way down across every platform, across every sport. What does it mean that just happened is what people are craving. It's what I crave. So I think focusing on the present, to your point, like Titans are focusing on connectivity. They're focusing on whether that's players, whether that's inside of a play, whether that's in the offseason, whether that's in the locker room, whether that's relationships, whatever it is, that is what they are doing today. It's impossible to know if that's right or wrong or good or bad without future data. Yeah. And then we can go back and analyze it. I agree that we're not focusing enough on the present. I think it's very difficult to say to a Titans fan, well, if they do this, you will feel what? I just think that's that's very hard to do.
Sure. So I'll run through the 15 questions here very, very fast. Snap judgment without giving you the multiple choices. Fill in these blanks.
For me, you want me to do it? Okay.
For you. Question 1. I believe the Titans are ...
Headed in the right direction?
That is one of the options. Question 2. I believe Brian Callahan is ...
An unknown?
Okay. My options here are already good or great, on pace to be good or great, on pace to be average, already average, just bad, and always will be.
Certainly not the worst one and certainly not the best one. I think he is average.
Okay.
And I think there's a chance he could be on pace to be better than that. Okay. Much better than that.
Same options, but for Borgonzi and Brinker as a pairing.
Same. Maybe more of a track record for Brinker and Borgonzi because of their experience. So maybe already good. How about that?
Cam Ward, slam dunk superstar, will be good, will be average, will be a bust.
I have weird feelings about Cam Ward right now. I haven't seen him, so I don't want to vocalize these. I would say average to good.
Ownership group, doing good or great, on the right track, neither a problem nor a solution, isn't doing good enough, is actively bad. So you're going with 3?
Well, they're on the field, they mean almost nothing. I think if you're talking off the field, it's a huge success because of the stadium. But otherwise, I think it's neither good or bad.
Good enough for the Titans means.
Good enough for the Titans, like in 2025.
Just in a given year, the Titans were good enough if they.
I think you, and this is the way I feel all football teams. If you are competitive almost every game you play, and you win more than you lose, I think that is sort of the meta goal for a football team. Like if I'm a Packers fan, I want to see a good product, an entertaining, competitive product every Sunday, and if you win more times than you lose, I think that's good. Now, eventually, when you're that good over time, the expectations are elevated.
Okay, the Titans will be good enough. ...
Meaning, like if something happens.
No, in what year?
Oh, I think it needs to be 2026 or 7. I think it needs to be 2026. They need to be good. They don't have to be great, but they need to be good.
From 1 to 5, how do you feel about the new Nissan Stadium? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best.
He should be a 5. It's gonna be spectacular.
The next one's just a general season tickets question, just to profile this audience base. So I'll move on from that. Being a Titans fan would feel great, good, average, not good, bad.
Wow, like in general, like
the feeling of being a Titans fan.
You can't go better than good right now, can you?
Some people have, but very few have.
Yeah, I would say. What's the middlest one?
Average.
I would say average. Yeah.
Yes or no? I believe the Titans are heading in the right direction.
I think so.
Yes or no? I believe the Titans will win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years.
No, but that's why we play the games.
Yes or no? Becoming a Titans fan is a good idea.
If you live in this town, yes. If you are somewhere else, no.
Yes or no? I would encourage more people to be Titans fans.
I can't say on that one. I can't, but I would say that for almost every team, honestly.
And then the final question: I am confident I will remain a Titans fan. That is for you guys to obviously decide as the fans.
I think if you are a fan, you should stick with it through thick and thin. That's what I believe. So I'm still a diehard Mets fan.
Yeah. So that is the survey. Braden shared the link both on Facebook and on YouTube.
Yep.
Please click through. Please follow through on that survey. And again, email me if you are at all interested in hopping in and talking through a Zoom call or potentially in person. Braden and I will probably start organizing when we go not live here to see what days we might be around next week.
It would be great. I'd love to do it, man. And I'm sure Shotgun Willies would love to do it as well. Just putting words in his mouth. So, and then he'll put the brisket back in our mouth. So it's great. Nick Suss, Tennessean, Tennessean.com. Go pay for good journalism. Sinkers Beverages, their 40th anniversary party at the Basement East, August 9th. Sign up, buy those tickets now, basementeast.com. Come out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, we've got training camp coverage the rest of the way. PK and I are back on Mondays. Nick and I will be back on our regular time slot next Thursday. So otherwise, I think that just about does it for us. Have a great weekend. We'll talk more about Winston and Femi and the offensive line and Cam Ward, and we'll have a lot more to discuss as the weeks go along. But football is back. It is here. It is an exciting time of year. Hope springs eternal. And yes, maybe the Titans will win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years.
We'll see.
For Nick Suss, I am Braden Gall. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you next time.